Hello, friends. Good evening. And, well, it's late here, about midnight. And our full moon is in about 6 hours and 18 minutes. So it's at 3:18 and 36 seconds, at least according to the Swiss ephemeris, and that's GMT, Universal Time. We're quite close to the full moon, and it's an important one at this time of world unrest, when great decisions are being made about the future equilibrium of humanity. It's possible to tip the scales toward the new civilization, although I think we have many sort of scorpionic tests to pass through before we can enter that civilization. Another 100 years or so of the fade-out of the Piscean energy until the year 2117, when, according to the Tibetan, the Aquarian Age is confirmed. But many tests along the way. We just have to make sure that we can keep a degree of balance in our international relations and in our intranational relations and within our communities and in our personal relations, a degree of balance so that we can submit to these Saturnian tests. Libra grows more powerful in the planetary horoscope toward the end of the last century and is increasing in power, sort of the master of the transitional time through which we are passing. And I think during transitional times there are many cross currents representing the reactionary point of view and the progressive point of view. Not specifying what those are at the moment, but just to say that they do exist, and to make sure that our little boat does not capsize in the rapids. So we can add to that sense of equilibrium by the quality of our consciousness and our group focus. I know a number of meditating groups that are working on the international situation, and they seem to be having an effect, subtle though it is. Things don't always turn in the worst direction. Sometimes they are subtly turned around for a better outcome than seemed possible just a few weeks before. So let us concentrate on right human relations during this lower interlude, and perhaps by the time the sun moves northward at the time of the coming solstice, when the new Group of World Servers festival will be occurring from the 21st to the 28th with a full moon at the end of it, perhaps we will see some indications that a positive direction is being taken internationally. But there's no question, the Libran idea of let choice be made is upon us at this time. We see in the Libra banner over here, I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. There are always going to be two great lines of force. It could be spirit and matter, but it could be soul and personality. It could be that towards which we strive and that which represents where we have been. There's always a middle path, no matter what your level of evolution may be. And that middle path respects the integrity of what has been created, but also opens to the newer possibilities which, if prematurely entering, could disrupt that integrity. So it's a fine balance. First on our way into hierarchy, and then on our way into Shambhala, because Libra rules the royal road into Shambhala. And finally, there's nothing final about it. I mean, on and on towards ever more powerful centers treading the middle path. The rulers, as you know, the planet of light and love, or love and mind, Venus is the exoteric ruler, with seventh ray Uranus as the esoteric ruler. So Venus exo and Uranus eso, and then Saturn, not only the hierarchical ruler, but the planet exalted in this sign. I sometimes think that the most powerful planets of all, their most powerful expression is found in the sign of their exaltation. So we have everything to do with the third aspect of divinity in this sign, but not alone the third aspect. All the three aspects are represented, and I think we will find a very powerful second aspect in Libra eventually, and also the first still later. The Jafra illustration here shows us the yin and yang, shows us the great pairs of opposites. Sometimes, I don't know whether this slide got turned around, but it would seem to me that the sun should be on the left and on the right, and the moon on the left. But it is as it is. The infinity sign is here, but it also represents the Ajna center, where choice is made between the lunar path of the past and the solar path, which represents the unfolding of consciousness in the future. So all of us are making a choice at every moment by the quality of the moment through which we are living. Libra has so much to do with the archetype and the perfect form, the perfect standing wave. And I sometimes think that what we can do with any moment, and we have an infinitude of them forever, is to archetypalize the moment, or perfect the moment, to have one's sensitivity open to what it would mean to have the high quality moment at every instant we live. Perfection is one thing, of course, but at least if we think in terms of quality, we will not be far off. Can we bring soul values and eventually spirit values into every moment, because all we have is an apparent succession of moments forever. Even the universe is a moment. So we're always weighing how we shall balance the forces as to make the greatest beauty in any moment. Master Moria tells us that with beauty we have the light. Thou hast the light. With beauty thou hast the light. We see the weighing of the heart against a feather. I suppose this is a ritual which is going to relate to the fourth degree, because if the heart is heavier than a feather, the feather, I think, suggesting the Buddhic plane, really, the plane of air, the plane onto which we are translated when we pass through the fourth degree. If the heart is heavier, then the crocodile, not here pictured, will devour the heart, and it's like the personality saying, okay, we're going to have another incarnation. The Makara hierarchy is called the human personalities. At least that's one aspect of them. And it, when we have not balanced our karma perfectly, and when there's still something dissonant weighing us down, because any dissonance in a way is a weight, harmony releases. So if we have the dissonant heart, and we'll know in ourselves why we would have that, our heart will be heavier than a feather, and we will not have release into the next stage of evolution, which the true fourth degree initiate experiences. So you can relate any sign of the zodiac to any initiation, really. There are ways in which they can all contribute, but I do see that the weighing of the heart is an important aspect of the fourth degree. Libra will also even lead to Shambhala and to the sixth initiation, where a great decision in the company of one's fellow initiates will be made. We all know about the great decision of 2001, and I think we're living through many of the consequences, even though we don't know the specific nature of that decision, the way the Chohans who are making it would know. Well, there's always this balance point we have to achieve, and it takes a very fine sensitivity to maintain it. It doesn't mean that you're static. You can be forever advancing. The pairs of opposites can be forever elevating along this path of ascent to ever greater centers, but holding the middle position is what it means to tread the noble middle path. It's a path of respect for the past and the future within the eternal now. These are subtle matters, and they take a lot of pondering. Libra is a very elusive sign, and we're told by the Tibetan, somewhat hard to understand. But I think, we are affected by the second ray, all of us, more or less, no matter what our soul ray may be. It's the major synthetic ray, and it's the ray in which we learn to ponder upon things until the light emerges and the meaning emerges. So I suggest that for this sign, and the full moon is quite close, so we can intensify our energy accordingly. Just another 6 hours or so. Francis has two images there. I'm focusing on this one. You saw the other one where the air figure was on the tight rope. Here we have the emergence of a figure that is meant to be Venusian, but is also suggesting Athena. And the image of Uranus is seeming to back up this emergent Venus Athena. And I think far above here, very tiny, is the image of Saturn, showing all the rulers. I'll read some of Francis Donald's text here. He says, when Athena burst fully formed from the head of Zeus, she gave us a most graphic example of the nature of Venus. Well, kind of a militarized Venus in a way, more the masculine element is incorporated in the Athena nature, I think. Both brilliant and beautiful, she epitomizes the ideal feminine, here discussed as the third aspect of divinity. The razor's edge, we recognize that as related to Libra. Life upon the razor's edge, an exacting path, also depicts Venus at the instant of her emerging, the fragments of her body still half in the darkness of the noumenal realm. The phenomenal is that which is emergent, the noumenal is that which is real, and half bathed in the light of manifestation. So there's a certain shadowy nature in this emergent picture. By stepping onto the narrow razor-edged path, notice the sense of balance here in this figure and also in the other one, which you saw briefly. By stepping onto the narrow razor-edged path which runs between the pairs of opposites, she at once exemplifies the lesson of Libra and reveals the gift of Venus, the ability to coordinate mind and heart. Personality represents mind, soul represents heart, or as the Tibetan tells us, the power of mind transmuted into wisdom through the instrumentality of love. So love is the bridge here towards wisdom. The power, so mind, love, and wisdom all move together, and especially this is the nature of Venus. It has a very powerful fifth ray, but also the second and sixth ray are still more powerful, as we have sometimes discussed. Just as Venus emerges from the radiant violet male figure, which in this image represents Uranus, so let's look at this. Here is the violet figure behind Venus, and these two are closely related. The father aspect is Uranian in this respect, so does the impetus to coordinate the mind and heart emerge from a more fundamental purpose, that of anchoring the realm of the soul in our world through the medium of the personality. And we do have all of, in mythology, we have an interesting kind of story where Saturn with his scythe is castrating the father, who is Uranus, and when the testicles are falling into the ocean, they produce a froth from which Venus emerges. So all three of those figures are telling us a story about the anchoring of love and wisdom on the earth. The heavenly ones and time are involved in the anchoring of love and wisdom on the earth. So anyway, this is the work of Uranus, which the Tibetan describes as, quote, occult consciousness, or that intelligent fusing condition which produces the scientific at-one-ment, or scientific at-one-ment of the two factors, higher and lower self, through the intelligent use of the mind. These are deep issues, and as we move into Libra now, we have the opportunity to respond to Uranus rather than only Venus. Saturn, the planet of opportunity, is at the top, as we have seen. There's a geometry here in Francis's image. You can see the equilateral triangles, the symbol of the atomic plane over which Saturn rules. You can see the pentagram here, or the pentagon, and this is the dodecahedron, and it has 12 sides. Master Moria said a very interesting thing. He said if we could arrange ourselves in the form of the dodecahedron, we would be invincible. Usually the hierarchical groups are related to the numbers 5, 7, 9, and so forth, usually the odd numbers. But in this case, he used this figure of great stability, which includes the 5 and the 12 together, and suggests the 7 as missing. So let's see. If you look closely at the image, you can make out the equilateral triangle originating in the Venusian head chakra and passing down through her arms and fingertips and crossing the bottom of the torso. You can see that. Several of these equilateral triangles. This is both the Libran and Saturnian geometrical figure par excellence, for it represents the pairs of opposites brought into balance by the higher mind. And finally, I would say even more so by the atomic quality itself, which the symbol of which is the triangle. So anyway, I'm not going to read all of this, but when you receive this, you can simply focus on it, freeze the screen, and you can see the excellent, interesting geometry that Francis has written about. And the numerology is brought forward here. The 30 sides of the dodecahedron reducing to the 3, the number of Saturn, the third aspect, and par excellence, Libra, is said to be the sign through which the third aspect manifests, and that is the case especially now. As I say, other aspects are latent in it. The Tibetan tells us here at the end, in Libra, the first real vision of the path appears. Life of soul and form is balanced. Neither dominates. Equilibrium. An interlude wherein the soul organizes itself for battle. That's going to happen in Scorpio, and the personality waits. And this is the probationary path. Well, we find so many human beings at this point making a decision between the soul and personality, whatever they call the soul. Could be the higher power, could be whatever, but that's what it is. Essentially an eternal internal quality, which is pulling them away from their usual preoccupation with strictly material, formal matters. So humanity is the probationary disciple, and many aspects of humanity are also the true disciples. So both Libra and Scorpio are ruling humanity powerfully at this time, and we're going to be dealing with these two signs now and next month as well. So thank you, Francis, for your beautiful illustration, meaningful, and your interpretation of this. highly geometrical, interestingly enough, and the odd line rays are very much accented in the usual interpretation of Libra. Okay, friends, I think that's enough background, and we can now begin our meditation. So we're right at that point. We've lived through the first 3 days, building up what's called confidence, aspiration, and dedication. 3 types of focus, 1 type on each one of the vehicles. And now, really, we're within that 12-hour period before the full moon when it is said that the Master, DK anyway, and maybe others are watchful for our internal approach, whether as individuals or even more significantly as groups. So we're in the day of safeguarding, and the energy is pouring now, and let's see if we can, as a group, attune with it to such a degree that we can be more and more useful as the actual full moon approaches and during the days of distribution. So we begin by achieving our sense of alert tension, which is not tense but alert. And we withdraw our consciousness inward. Gradually releasing it from its preoccupation with the sensory world and with the sentient world of feeling, and releasing from the world of lower mind and we are realizing ourselves to be actually the soul in incarnation. We are not identified with any content of consciousness, especially not the usual ones. We're standing at that midway point where we can be the spiritual observer of all that we thought we were. And we're finding ourselves as a unit of consciousness, really a unit of being with consciousness. And we begin to merge into the light and love and the power of the soul on the higher mental plane, as if we are consciously entering the egoic lotus, the field long prepared over millions of years, the field of light, of love, of power, and the other personal fields are fading out of our awareness. on the beauty, the light, the harmony, the spiritual love, the urge to sacrifice these things are fading in. We find ourselves in their presence. And the soul, we know, is really a group conscious entity, and we find ourselves, therefore, not with any sense of individualism in this causal field, but unified with many others, those especially in our soul groups, but also more widely relating in soul to the members of the new group of world servers, finding them on the soul plane, finding the men and women of goodwill, finding them in soul, finding the way to feel unified with them in soul, and really finding all of humanity in soul, every human being. Makes no difference whether in the body or out of the body. Makes no difference whether the personality is good, bad, or indifferent. Finding all human beings in soul, a subtle matter. To feel oneself capable of touching any human being. As a soul. Where, as we know, only good can be found. In completeness, yes, but only good in that which is stored in the causal body. So we begin to sense the one soul of humanity, and we realize from one of the second ray stanzas, naught is but me, naught is, but the one identity which embraces all souls, and of course goes far beyond them. But the oneness of humanity, evidenced as right human relations in Libra, this oneness makes an impression upon us regardless of the Martian conflicts prevailing in so many quarters at the moment. The more essential oneness is revealed. As a group, we are coming together on the fourth level of the mental plane and seeking to link that to our higher aspects. We create a point of tension there, a group point of tension, fortified by the will aspect of the group soul, which includes the 7 aspects of will. The will to initiate, first ray. The will to unify, second ray. Will to evolve, third ray. Will to harmonize, fourth ray. Will to act, fifth ray. Will to cause, sixth ray. Will to express, seventh ray. Our point of tension together upon the mental plane has gathered up the potencies, the reinforcing potencies of the group personality, and is reinforced from above by the group soul. It is our launching point into the impersonal realms of the spiritual triad. We feel the power within the group mind, adding to that the creative visualization, each one of us of a dual bridge, sounding 2 notes, displaying 2 colors, that of the soul ray and personality ray, which we visualize, and using the color indigo if we are not certain. Each of us responsible for a dual strand of the group rainbow bridge. DK has given us colors. There's no exactitude here, but in general, and for our useful purposes until the 5th and 4th and 7th rays reveal more in the coming age, we can use red for the first ray esoterically, indigo for the second, green for the third, yellow for the fourth. We can use orange for the 5th, or indigo again if we choose, silvery rose for the 6th, not red in this case, and violet for the 7th. Our knowledge is not complete here, but we have enough to work productively. So you feel the dual colored bridge that you are creating, and it as if touches the higher mental field through the monastic permanent atom, the Buddhic field through the Buddhic permanent atom, the atmic field, even in imagination at least, through the atmic permanent atom, and ending imaginatively in the blue-white diamond, representing in this case the spirit aspect. Feel the intensity of this grow. So that you know that through your qualities, your colored qualities, you are making a contribution to the group rainbow bridge, which we can visualize as having all the colors, the 7 especially. We feel the invocative potency of this bridge. You can visualize it cone-like ascending to that point of unfettered enlightenment that the monad expresses, or moving inward towards that same type of point if you choose the spherical approach. Intensify your colors. And feel the power of these higher fields to make impression upon you. And we will project a line of vivid white light across the group rainbow bridge and each of the individual bridges. And we will use the second ray mantram. In this case, we could use any, but in a group sense, we'll use the second ray mantram. I see the greatest light. Now you think that intensely. I see the greatest light. And as we think it, we will sound with our voice apparatus the second ray note, Om. And through this projection, we get the sense that we approach the Father aspect, and the Father aspect may approach us. Libra is the royal road into Shambhala, which in group imagination we can approach. We get the sense that we are in the realm where the consciousness of the Masters is usually focused. This is the triadal realm. And we are in the company of those who meditate at this time, whose point of tension increases at this time as they concentrate upon the world and its elevation. So we will salute our higher co-workers, declaring our cooperation, our solidarity, our co-workership, our willingness to be with them, to acknowledge what they are as energy centers, to acknowledge our intimacy, their deep intimacy with us as souls. The spiritual intimacy of the ashram growing in power as we approach them as a group, so we can work with greater power and effectiveness in solidarity with those who know the plan, as we somewhat know the plan. So we will salute first, offer our salutations to the Christ, the Master of all Masters, and the Teacher alike of angels and of men. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all Masters. Om. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work and who have brought the ageless wisdom closer to humanity. Salutations to the Master Moria, the coming Manu of the sixth root race, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, the coming Christ of the age of Capricorn, the one whose ashram does most to prepare the way for the coming one. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, who has given us the blue books and is preparing aspirants for initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know or conceive him to be. Salutations to the spiritual hierarchy of our planet in its entirety. And we imaginatively raise our thought to Shambhala as a group, to the center where the will of God is known, and with deepest reverence and in all humility, identified not as individuals but as the group soul, the group being, we attempt to attune with the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the very center of Shambhala, at the center of the one fundamental school, so that that will, however it can reach us in group form, can make its impression and be carried out in our attempts to express the plan. And as we imagine ourselves impressible by this great being in however an attenuated form, we sound a long, inner, silent Om. We know that when the royal road is completed and the fifth initiation has come, the line will be direct from the realm of purpose to the realm of will as expressed in the lower worlds, from the crown to the base. And Libra will be a fiery road then, connecting that which is highest within us, Shambhala, the monad, to the very base of the spine. We will move inward now, begin to work in this way, to conceive ourselves not as individuals, but as a group point of light, love, and power. We are as if a point. And we as if hover above the golden path which leads into the indigo sun, the indigo center. And we will imagine the shortening golden path upon which we are passing toward the indigo center and into the indigo center. Absorbed in indigo, in the great synthetic ray, interestingly, indigo is given by DK as the color of Libra, emphasizing its second ray aspect. And here, as if we meet the pervading and supporting consciousness of Master DK, who was an expert in these solar and cosmic energies, as we make our approach to receiving the substantial energies now available, receiving them in a conscious manner so we can understand and distribute them individually and as a group, we move into the receptive mode supported by his consciousness, aligning with the qualities emanating from the three planetary rulers of Libra, Venus, the exoteric, conveying the decisive emergence of soul values, balanced wisely with personal necessities, lower Saturn and Venus in balance. Venus conveying to us the way of establishing right human relations, soul values in all our relationships. We will focus then on Uranus, conveying the power to relate with archetypal authenticity. What is our true name in heaven? Our archetypal name. Can we bring that into all of our relationships so that we are truly archetypally authentic? And we will attune with Saturn, the hierarchical and exalted ruler, suggesting that karma will consummate in justice and beauty. These three living beings who are here now part of a solar systemic group pervading every place in the solar system with their consciousness. These are the beings with whom the group will attune so as better and more consciously to express what is available to us. So first, then, as a group, let us ponder on the power of Venus in relation to Libra, and as we do so, we realize we are fortifying the loving influence of the solar angel. The solar angel presiding over the individual, the amalgamated solar angel presiding over the group, even one day the planetary solar angel, the solar systemic solar angel. We get that sense of magnetism, magnetizing the personality, uplifting, transmuting, drawing it towards the consummation of the divine marriage which Libra rules. The two aspects fusing and merging, we contemplate, because that is the word for Libra, contemplate the marriage in the heavens and the absorption of the personality into the radiant beauty of the soul which we more authentically are. The personality pervaded, uplifted, drawn into union with a more heavenly center, so that we know what it is to express the soul in beauty, with poise, with skill and action, suspended between here and there, skillfully using the personality as the instrument of the pervading soul. We're going to carry this union with us as we approach the full moon. Our groups are needing this harmonizing, this pervasion, this beautifying. We think of the ways that this Venusian energy that we are absorbing can be used to enhance the quality of our groups. to bring the true spiritual civilization into our groups. And as we see this happening, we will use the note A, which is a fifth ray note and is also associated with the color indigo, the higher color, we're told esoterically, of the fifth ray, and deeply associated with Venus and with Libra. So we will sound the Om as we see the group transformation occurring. Just the way as in an orchestra we attune to the note A, so we as disciples and groups of disciples attune to the solar angel. The solar angel, the representative of Venus. May Venus prevail in all our interactions, bringing right human relations where most needed. But now we focus on Uranus. We think of Uranus. It's interestingly a more turquoise color. Turquoise given as the color of Aquarius by DK. But it has a special place in Libra to bring in the new social order based not just on man-made laws, but on such laws as they reflect a more archetypal understanding. Uranus, the heavenly one, the planet of the archetype. What is the archetype which we are attempting to express individually? What is it for every nation? What is it for humanity? Uranus conveys the sense of that perfect heavenly form. Bringing in the true higher individuality, even eventually the monadic nature, our true name. And as we transmute the sacral activity into a true creativity at the throat center, we can begin to create those forms which express the authentic archetype. So many deep things can be contemplated with Uranus. Fresh and new modes of human cooperation and interplay, the new and better way, contributing to the vitalization, the betterment, the repatterning of all energy systems within our planet. The fresh, the new and good. Which already exists in heaven, the highest heavens. remaking us, even touching the logoic plane where Uranus can rule in the sea of fire. Real life, with all the freshness, the unrepeatability, the newness of life. Right down into the realm of human interplay and creativity. Nothing artificial, everything real. And without fear of expression. Being who we are and loving each other because we are exactly as we are internally. The violet ray of Uranus, its soul ray reaching us as a group, reaching into our groups, transforming our groups, etherically repatterning our groups, bringing down the cosmic ethers into our normal etheric interplay, made more alive by Uranus, the livingness of Uranus. And we will see this happening. We will use the note that Blavatsky gives to the moon, the violet note, which really veils the Uranian note. We will use the note B. Sounding the Om, we see the transformation in our groups and widely in the world occurring. The fresh, the new, the unexpected, the real, the inherent, the heavenly. A real energy to be received, to be used, not an abstraction, a present reality to which we attune. And then onward to the hierarchical ruler, the Ancient of Days, the exalted ruler, the place where the third ray monad has its greatest expression, thus bringing Libra as one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, sign of the third aspect. This is the place of divine law, reflecting the greater will and wills of the ones in whom we live and move and have our being. law as divine will. Thus a great beneficent factor guaranteeing accomplishment. We follow the divine will of the atmic plane ruled by Libra. The plan will manifest. This we can only do to the extent we understand the plan. But we can do it in our local sphere, with our immediate near ones. We can do it more widely in our group effects, and in our nations, and humanity itself can learn one day to follow the spiritual will. And maybe when Vulcan is discovered, this will happen. But right now, the primordial ray, so often at variance with the indigo ray, can be merged with it. And the indigo intentions of our solar logos can express through the green ray of Saturn. We're going to learn to make all of those karmic adjustments wisely and in the service of the energy of love, because the karmic balancing serves, finally, the energy of love, wisdom. The ancient one, the primordial one, serves the expression of the indigo ray, the divine ray in our solar system. So with acute intelligence, the acute energy of divine mental perception, arranging all things for proper and lawful manifestation, we breathe in Saturn, recognizing him as a great, beneficent force, and as DK says, not as the deity who brings disaster. Intelligently, we equilibrize all of our form nature, so that it can express the intended energies in a perfectly balanced manner. Harmlessly. Saturn, a planet of harmlessness. He who fulfills the law does no harm. And we think then of the balancing of karma, the lawful balancing of karma, bringing all into just and harmonious relations which express the divine plan. In the spirit of love wisdom, we ponder on this. how can we assist humanity to pass through the many karmic adjustments of the next 12 years, and even of the next 100 years. And since Saturn rules the first decan of Aquarius, even the next 800 years, we will learn what Saturn is. But think if our groups could obey the divine law and do that willingly, eagerly, and so we will see our groups as divinely lawful, karmically balanced, all adjustments made with great intelligence. And we will sound the Om on the green note, the note Fa, which we associate with the pitch F. And we see the changes taking place. The law, divine law, welcomed into the group life. Saturn, a real being, here, now. All the planetary lords here, now, and we can attune with them, and we raise the stakes and travel even further together as a group in the presence, as if in the presence of the solar god, here, now. The heart of love in the cosmic logos, the consuming fire of love, an ultimate, probably secondary monad, our solar god, the all-pervading indigo, in which the green of Saturn, the violet of Uranus, and the colors associated with Venus, even the rose, they are all subrays, subcolors of the all-pervading indigo. Love, wisdom pervading all, always, at these full moon opportunities, no matter what the energies, love, wisdom pervading all. Correcting all. Bringing all into a relationship with which, perhaps among those who have been human recently, only the Christ appreciates fully. Love, wisdom of the solar logos. We will use his note, the G especially, feeling the love, wisdom pervade everything, everything in our solar system. And through this quality of energy, the Lord of the constellation Libra focuses at this time its particular light, the light that moves to rest, the light that oscillates until a point of balance is achieved. And note, it is the light which is distinguished by a moving up and down between the vertical pairs of opposites. Through the love-wisdom envelope, this quality of Libra, which has so much indigo of its own, even though its relationship to the third ray is profound, this Lord is making his impact upon each of us, and all of humanity on the earth. A real being, the Lord of the constellation Libra. He mentions various of these lords, not just aggregations of stars, but great deities who express through these related stars. Libra, here and now, affecting the group consciousness, and we will contemplate the mantra. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. I, the individual, I, the group, I, the nation, I, humanity, even I, the planet. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. And we will contemplate. There are many ways we could choose, but we choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. But this means we always have to know what these two great lines of force are. And the middle way is ever ascending. In a way, we are always treading the path. Libra rules the path of probation, but it rules many paths, including the path into Shambhala and beyond. Every path, leading from the sixth initiation onward towards great constellations on the way of higher evolution, every path, ruled generically by Libra. And the examples of the pairs of opposites are always changing. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. Every step, every action, every word, every thought is a choice. Every path between the two is Libran. The angels link, and this has been all angels' day. The strand, the path, the connecting of Libra. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. And with just a few hours before our actual full moon experience, let us intensify this mantra. Let us live within it, holding it in contemplation no matter what else we may be doing. And if we can reserve time given to it alone, let that time be reserved so that it begins to live within us. And we find ourselves really making such a choice always. These paths will lead eventually to the central spiritual sun, which is not only our monad, which it is, which is not only the monad of the solar logos, which it is, but is the central star in the Pleiades, that great thousand-petaled lotus in the local supercosmic God. All paths leading thence, thither, to that point. And from that point comes all connection in our local cosmos system. Libra is particularly connected, having such a third ray expression. From the Pleiades to Libra, to our great heart of love, the solar God, on through the lords of Venus, of Uranus, of Saturn, and into our planetary scheme through the representative of Saturn and Venus, Sanat Kumara, touching all the monads on their own high level, touching all souls, bringing balance, beauty, the balancing of karma, release, liberation, which only harmony can bring, bringing it to us all. Real energies, real lords, really present. And we, the recipients, consciously, and the distributors, consciously, we look at the world. Filled with Libran energy, we look at the world. Filled with the powers of Venus, of Uranus, of Saturn, we look at the world. Where are these energies needed? Where? So many places. We think of the spirit of peace, a great shambolic being, one of those who overshadows the Christ. Where is this spirit? Aligned with Libra, with Venus, with the Christ. Where is it needed? we focus on such an area of need, whatever we may choose. And we will sound the Om 3 times. We will use the second ray note, the indigo note, one of the indigo notes. And we will see these energies assisting humanity to balance the karma, correct the injustices, bring love and harmony and right human relations into a troubled area. We will see this happen as we sound the note of the second ray. And together, the great mantra that we have been given to hasten the coming of the Christ and to hasten the coming of the new age in the right way. The Prince of Peace, when he decided he would actually appear on the dense physical plane, we are told that at that time the Lord of Shambhala released the great invocation to him. And as we sound the great invocation together, followed by the sacred word, let us think of these great lords, the Lord of Shambhala, the Spirit of Peace, the Christ, and the whole process of letting light, love, and power contribute to the world peace which Libra, if rightly responded to, can promote. Let us have that perspective. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, Let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Friends, we have less than 5 hours before the full moon. It is at 3:18 and 36 seconds. So it's about 4.5 hours away. I'm going to ask Brett to send out his recording to the big list. If you want to use this meditation, you are very welcome to do that for any reason, for the full moon or for the days of distribution. And if you are not on the big list that gets the notifications for these full moons, then please write to me or to Brett, and we will make sure you are on that list. Although somehow you found yourself here, so that's good. You have a wonderful lead up now to the full moon, and a very blessed Libra meditation. So we'll, as it were, see you in meditation at the exact moment. The exact moment is very important, so do observe that. Okay? Thank you, everyone, and we will end the webinar now. Bye-bye.